One thing that I wanted to ask you about has to do with arranging or the arranging aspect of producing, I guess. I was listening to the Fray, and um, one thing that I love is how everything has its space.
Mm.
And right out of the gate, is Friends the first song,
Yeah.
right? So there's like a kind of a real bedrock rhythm acoustic guitar part. And then it seems like maybe there's a second acoustic part and an electric part.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but somehow they kind of bounce off of each other, and in the where they fall in the timing of things, and also just in the sonic space. I a lot of times students will send me stuff they're working on. Hey, here's the demo of this song I'm working on. And if there's two guitar tracks, it they are kind of like falling all over each other a little bit.
Sure.
And I wonder if you could talk about how, like, your whole album, anytime there's two guitar parts, or even sometimes when it's guitar and piano, it's really a similar thing, which is that everything is conversational and clear, and it has a reason to be there. I don't know how did you arrive at all of that?
Ah, well, thanks, man. Thanks for saying all of that. It's incredibly kind. And I know, coming from you as an arranger, that I appreciate that. Yeah, there is a conversational, I suppose, a discipline with guitars. I think when you're putting them next to each other, they have to be complementing each other and taking it in turns to say things, and sometimes shouting at each other, but not too much, And then they end on a handshake. It's like it's how you want a long conversation with a friend to be.
Right.
So with guitars, it's the same thing. I think the first guitar on Friends is, it's kind of rhythmical, isn't it, on the acoustic guitar, and there's a bit of kind of a thumb kind of slap going on, holding it down. So then the second guitar is a high strung, a little Gibson in Nashville tuning, and that's playing the melody, but obviously in a very different register, and I'm doing that with a pick. So it's a different texture.
Huh.
Yeah.
And for people that don't know what Nashville tuning is, what is Nashville tuning?
Oh, I can show you.
Oh, beautiful.
1 second. She's just over here.
Oh, there is. That
Okay.
is.
So this country and western tuning.
Mm-hmm.
So it's standard tuning, but with high strings, and so the E starts, or either it's an E flat, and that is from your regular middle E on a guitar would be there. So it starts there, and that's the regular E and B string. But then the two middle strings are up an octave, so D and G. The D and G, the D and G that you would find there.
Oh, wow.
So you leave those up an octave. So it means that the middle of your guitar is up a register.
Huh. So
yeah.
Oh, just yeah. Go. I see what you do. Yeah, make some shapes and show us what it sounds like. Yeah.
But it's lovely when you start moving higher up the neck. It's nice for finger picking too.
Huh.
Yeah, it's a kind of a secret weapon that seems to be well known, but every time I pick it up, it blows me away.
Wow. So you keep that guitar? That guitar is dedicated in that tuning.
Yeah, she has been for a couple of years, and it works so well on the Fray. I just thought I'd leave it there, and that's on quite a few songs. But yeah, on Friends that comes in second verse, I think, and it just adds a bit of swing to the feel of the guitar. And then I think the electric guitar comes in, and that's playing the melody in a. Oh no, that comes in on the first verse, then the electric comes in on the second verse. So yeah, it's stages. It's just the sort of most logical thing of building up the picture and then slowly pulling them back away so that you end, kind of where you started. But the electric comes in, a different sound again. It's that Strat over there, playing the just the harmony part, higher up the neck. Yeah, and I just, whenever I'm layering guitars, I'm always trying to have as little as possible going on. You and I have spoken before about the idea that less is more, and that's sort of how I try to make my records, just constantly chiseling away. So if a guitar is going to be on there, it has to be adding something to the conversation that the main guitar can't be carrying,
And do you, like, before going into the studio, had you done demos at home where you were working out complementary parts, or were those worked out in the studio?
Sometimes I'll work them out at home, and that'll kind of give me a better sense of the shape of the song. I think demoing is really useful in that way, just to allow you to hear the beginning of an arrangement, because sometimes then you'll go, actually, this is going to be a lot better just voice and guitar. But often in the studio, you're there's a nice amp and a mic that you don't have at home, and you think, well, I'll try this. And that's where the exciting things often happen, right?
Yeah. And then what about collaborating? I assume that Sarah Jarosz and Bill Frisell weren't in the studio at the same time as you, right?
No, they were very, very far away. and at that point, it was a sort of kind of a daring strategy to try and record things remotely. I didn't know anyone had really tried it during the sort of lockdown period. And I'd certainly never made a record like that or been involved in one. And it's been interesting, I think more and more people are getting their heads around the idea that actually you can make a record with there being great distances involved. The thing that swung it for me was that, Sarah and Bill in particular, they sent in their parts and it worked so well, and they're two very highly evolved musicians whose sensibilities, it seems, transcend massive distances. They both managed to tap into what the session was about from afar. I was sending them just very rough mixes at the end of the day. Said to Sarah, can you just, after day one, could you just sing something over this? And she did, but she did it in a very sort of, what we got back was just perfect. And then that allowed me to bounce off it. If someone's in the room and they do a take that makes you go, wow, okay, we need to lose the piano. I think we need to bring in a second guitar. Let's try a slide guitar there. And you work around what that person has done. And we were able to do that with these files that were appearing, in Dropbox. Bill Frisell just did it overnight. Amazing.
Wow. And did you give him any direction, or you just sent the track and said, do your thing, or what?
Initially, the latter. I just said, do what you feel. And he sent 5 takes. And they were very dense, very harmonically dense, a lot going on. And I was sort of thinking, well, we are going to have some BVs on here. There's going to be double bass. And so I had to say to, one of my favourite all-time guitar players, could you do that again, but play just a little less?
Huh.
his interpretation of the song was amazing, but it was going to. I was very sort of adamant on having Courtney Hartman sing vocals as well, and obviously Bill had just heard my guitar and vocal, and he didn't have that picture, so he just gave me a sort of parallel universe version of this song, which is amazing. But I wanted something a little minimal, so I just said, Bill, can you send me that again, but with 30% less? And then he sent me like another 4 takes, each one individually. Incredible. I mean, incredible, Adam. Mind blowing. So I took a chunk of one and put it at the start. So we've got this instrumental intro.
I wondered how you did that, because it's like out of time, and okay.
Yeah, and then my bass player and I just played to it in the room. We reamped it into the big studio at Real World and just played along to it. And then we took 2 takes and, the Pro Tools thing, cut it in the middle, stick them together. So one of them, he had his tremolo pedal on, and there's a very subtle switch halfway through where it's like a tremolo pedal's just clicked on. But it worked. With the first, we heard it, and it all made sense. So yeah, Bill he's got 3 different guitar takes on that song. If he was in the room, he would have just done it in 1 take, of course.
Right,
but we were working under certain restrictions.
Right.
Yeah.
Thinking about, again, those kind of spaces, and knowing how much density you want from a particular part, or how much movement or just energy, just sort of as a general term. Like, do you have certain records that you hold as like gold standards, or is there some bit of advice that like a producer or mentor said to you at one point, and like, John, let me tell you something. I mean, what's your I don't know, what do you go back to that informs those choices?
Well, very early on, my touchstone was Nick Drake. And I fell in love with a lot of music all around the same time when I was 17, 18. And Nick Drake was the one that really hit me, because the implication of space, I'd never heard anything like it. Then I discovered Miles Davis in it, and you realise, oh, okay, talk about space, you listen to Kind of Blue on a proper hi-fi, and it's half the time all you hear is the room.
Yeah.
So hearing a guitar surrounded by nothing, just this very gentle voice, got me really excited, and then Bert Jansch and John Remborn playing together. There's a record they made called Bert and John that they made in Bert Jansch's flat in '67. It's just 2 guitars, and they're completely in sync with each other, the 2 guys. That this was a time when they were playing together for 12 hours a day, and that those records like Pink Moon by Nick Drake, Bert and John, and then later discovering jazz. I've always just really been interested in the idea of space and letting the sort of the eye contact between musicians, or the feeling that someone is sitting there with their eyes closed, channeling their whole life experience into an instrument. I want to hear that. I don't want to hear someone playing loads of notes,
Right.
So that was sort of galvanized for me by working with Joe Henry, who we have both done a lot of work with, and seeing how he produces, and understanding that there are different elements that are going to come together and work really well, and then there's just like one little thing that will tip the balance and suddenly it doesn't work. And seeing how Joe is always aware of that one extra thing, and it's like he's always pushing just towards it, but never allowing that straw to break the camel's back. I've always found that really inspiring. He's just always got the perfect kind of balance, He never lets the house of cards fall down. So since I started working with him, and when I've been making records, I've really been aware that less is more, you know, and if you can chisel away at it, pull layers away and just reveal the core of the song. I'm still working on it, but getting closer and closer to just conveying what the song is about. That's kind of the mission. That was quite a rambling answer to your question.
No, that's the answer.
Okay.